YouTube, welcome back to another video. Today's video, we have a reaction for y'all. Today we got a reaction video for y'all. I don't even know what video we doing. Like literally, I do these reaction videos and find a video while I'm in the process of making the video. So I guess we're gonna do like a missing person or missing people found years later. Like right now, we got a new card plug. This came and dropped off this Jeeter juice. I see it. Oatmeal cookies. I kinda already opened it, but I didn't hit it yet. I was waiting for y'all. I was waiting to do this video so I can have this ready. And I wasn't gonna do it without it. Jeeter juice, oatmeal cookie indica. Yeah, we're gonna taste test it right now on camera. It's my first time ever doing a review on any card. So this is review slash reaction video. And it comes with a charger. So it's like you know your shit legit. Like Android charger. So yeah, that's all that's in the packaging. See it. This is it. It's kinda small. I didn't expect it to be this small. The last one I had, the yellow one that y'all saw, that one was bigger. This one, I like this color, it's nice. Oatmeal cookies, we gonna try it. Never had oatmeal cookies of anything, so let's see how it's tasting. Oh yeah. I don't really taste oatmeal. It tastes like, you could taste like, I don't know, I wouldn't say it tastes like cookies, but it tastes like, it's flavorful, but I wouldn't say it tastes like oatmeal cookies. It just has a flavor to it, a nice flavor. And if I sound a little stuffy, I literally got a cold overnight. I don't know what happened. I've been trying to brush off this little cold I got, but I don't know. 8.9 out of 10. But y'all did not come here for that. Y'all came here for a reaction video. 5 strange cases of missing people found years later in the most mysterious places. We're gonna start that video right now. So let's start the screen record. Screen record going. Starting the video now.
Mysterious disappearances usually result in missing person cases that are either resolved relatively quickly or that remain unsolved for years at a time. But in some cases, following years of investigation, missing people are found alive years later, much to the surprise of those who believe them to have vanished forever. Number 5. The mysterious disappearance of 21-year-old Derek Higgins happened at around 7 a.m. on the 21st of March 2013, when he vanished from his hometown of Smithfield, Illinois. For days after leaving his house, no trace of Derek was found, and his family feared the worst. He was last spotted at a bank in Canton, Illinois, and 3 days later his vehicle, a 1998 Buick LeSabre, was located outside of Tallahassee in Florida, and some of his personal belongings were still in the car, including his wallet and ID. Investigators noted that the car had been involved in a minor accident.
You just flee the country and start a new life. But it's like, that seemed like a lot of work, and then like, I don't know, that's just a lot of work to be doing all that. Then you gotta keep up with the lies that you telling and all that. Like, I don't have time to...
But there was no sign of Derek.
But I think about it though.
Following the discovery of his car, Derek was listed as endangered by investigators, and his mother, Debbie Corsaw, believed that he may have been suffering from memory loss as he had experienced a blow to his head. But in April and July of 2014, investigators got a surprise when they arrested a man called Adam Wilson twice on vagrancy charges in Las Vegas. Months later, when the man's fingerprints were processed, they returned as a match for Derek's, and he had supplied them with a false name. Then on the 17th of January 2015, San Diego Harbor Police Department officers managed to track Derek down, and they were able to confirm his real identity. He was taken to a hospital in California, where he remained in protective custody until his family arrived. His parents stated that they still had many unanswered questions about his mysterious disappearance, but they were happy he was alive, and that they could start the slow process of figuring out exactly what happened and what made him decide to vanish. They stated that they believed a series of previous car accidents to be responsible for his memory loss. Police stated that he didn't break the law, and since there was no sign of illegal substances in his system, he would be free to resume his life when he was ready. Number 4.
Yeah, he probably just didn't want to be around y'all.
In 1974, 28-year-old Lula Gillespie Miller vanished from her hometown of Laurel in Indiana. She had just signed custody of her 3 children over to her parents, as she felt she was too young to be a mother, and wasn't sure she could handle the responsibility of raising them. The following year...
But you can handle the responsibility of laying flat on your back and having them kids? I mean, in the process of making the kids, but you can't raise the kids?
The family received a letter from Lula that was postmarked in Richmond, Indiana. But that was the last time they heard from her, and despite desperate searches, she remained a missing person. They never gave up hope that they would find her one day, however. And in 2014, Indiana State Police Detective Scott Jarvis was handed the cold case after the Doe Network contacted him about the strange case. With only the letter to go on, he decided to check with the Richmond Police Department's Records Division, where he discovered that an unidentified woman had been found deceased in 1975. But after her DNA was analyzed, it was found that the woman wasn't Lula. But shortly after, Jarvis received reports of a woman fitting Lula's description, who'd been living in Tennessee in the 1980s before relocating to Texas in the 1990s. It was also believed that she may have been living under an assumed name. He decided to make contact with the Texas Rangers, who identified Lula's address in Texas. And 42 years after her mysterious disappearance, Lula was finally found alive, aged 69. When she was questioned about her disappearance, she openly admitted that she decided to vanish of her own accord, and that she willfully didn't contact her family. Since she hadn't committed a crime, police didn't release her current alias, but she agreed to pass her contact information onto her children. However, when her children made contact with her, the phone conversation lasted about 2 minutes before Lula stated she couldn't talk any longer. She did, however, state that she would contact her children when she was able to, but the children were left in shock after discovering that their mother was alive and well, and they believed that the phone call will never come. Number 3. Patrick McDermott was given up for adoption to an American family after his birth in Korea in September of 1956. As an adult, he married actress Yvette Nepar, but the couple...
That number, what number is this? 3? So number 4. Number 4 pissed me off. Like what type of mother are you that you go missing for how much years? 43? And your kids call you and you hang up on them, so you gotta call them later and never call back.
Divorced in 1994, after which he started an on-again, off-again relationship with well-known actress Olivia Newton-John. When they met, Patrick was employed as a lighting designer, and for the next 9 years, the two would continue their relationship. But on the 30th of June 2005, Patrick was a passenger on a fishing charter boat called Freedom when he mysteriously vanished. He was aboard the boat, which had departed from the San Pedro Marina, for a 22-hour fishing trip that would last through the night, as he had done on multiple occasions in the past. He didn't know any of the other passengers, and no head count was taken upon departure. When it was discovered that he had gone missing, the boat was immediately searched and his car keys.
The thing that's different about a Verbo vacation home, you always have the whole place to yourself.
Wallet and passport were found to still be on board. His car was also found parked at the marina, where he had parked it before boarding the boat. But his family only realized that he was missing on the 11th of July, when he didn't turn up for a family gathering, and he was finally reported as a missing person. A case was opened by the Coast Guard Investigative Services, who found no evidence of foul play or that he had ended his own life, and they decided to close the case on the 15th of September the following year. A separate safety investigation was launched by the United States Coast Guard, who scrutinized the conduct of the fishing boat, and it was determined that Patrick had probably fallen overboard and was very likely lost at sea. But speculation was rife that Patrick had faked his own death, and undercover investigators traveled to Mexico, where it was rumored that he may be hiding since he had a large amount of debt to his name. More than 20 sightings were investigated in Mexico, and in 2009,
I don't have debt yet. I'm only 19, but if I did, and there was a lot, I'd probably flee too. I ain't gonna lie,
investigators believed that he may have been living in a boat off the west coast of Mexico, but he still wasn't located. In 2016, the Australian magazine Women's Day reported that investigators had located Patrick in Mexico, where he was living with his new girlfriend. However, these findings were never proven. Patrick was finally found years after his disappearance by a group of investigators who'd been hired by Dateline NBC. He had indeed been living in Mexico, and his identity was finally proven when he supplied them with documentation and voice imprints. He reportedly told Texas-based investigator Philip Klein that he no longer wanted to be hounded by reporters and investigators, and that he would be continuing his life in peace. Number 2.
What?
Lawrence Bader, a 30-year-old cookware salesman from Akron, Ohio, became a missing person on the 15th of March, 1957. On that day, Bader, who was working for the Reynolds Metal Corporation, told his wife, Mary Lou, that he needed to travel to Cleveland for business, and that he may go fishing afterward. He said that he would be home late, to which Mary Lou protested, but Bader rented a motorboat from Eddie's Boathouse on the Rocky River, and strangely asked that it be fitted with light, despite the fact that it was still hours away from nightfall. After paying a $15 deposit, he headed out after repeatedly being warned by the boat's owner that a storm was approaching. The owner also noticed that he was carrying a briefcase, which he found strange. He was spotted by the Coast Guard, who also warned him of the approaching storm, but Bader ignored their warnings and traveled on. The next morning, the boat was found about 5 miles away, where it had washed up on Perkins Beach in Lakewood. One of the propellers on the motor was bent and the boat had suffered a few scratches, but there was no sign of Bader. One of the boat's oars was missing, and the gas can was found to be empty, and since all the life jackets were still on the boat, it was assumed that Bader had fallen overboard and drowned. But 3 days later, a man named John Johnson applied for a job as a bartender at a restaurant in Omaha called Ross's Steakhouse. He landed the job and soon became known by his chosen nickname of Fritz. In 1959, he was hired by a local radio station, becoming a small-time celebrity before marrying a model named Nancy Zimmer. But in 1965, his true identity was confirmed when he was tracked down by his niece. At first, he denied being Lawrence Bader since he had no memory of that life, and it was argued that he lost his memory when he underwent an operation to remove a tumor from his brain. As his history became public knowledge, he was fired from the radio station. Nancy left him since he was already married, and he returned to his job as a bartender, where he worked for $100 a week. He passed away in 1966 after it was found out that he was suffering from cancer of his liver. Number 1.
Wait.
In the spring of 1967, Mary Ann Urich was on her way to visit her sister, Patricia Carleton, but as she was making her way there, she had an unsettling feeling. Upon arriving at the house, she found that Patricia's children were playing unattended, and they told her that Patricia was asleep in her room. She attempted to wake her up, but found that she was unconscious and she was taken to the hospital. It was discovered that Patricia needed surgery as she was suffering from an aneurysm. The operation was completed successfully, but when Patricia woke up, she had no memory of her own life and couldn't recognize Mary Ann, her husband, or her children. She needed to be taught how to complete the most basic tasks again, and a carer named Pat was hired to look after her. But in November of 1968, Pat contacted Mary Ann, and informed her that Patricia had wandered off and gone missing. She was found in Alabama 6 weeks later, and Mary Ann immediately went after her. Patricia stated that she had no memory of traveling to Alabama, and she had no idea how long she had been there. Patricia went on to marry a man named Troy, who convinced her to file for custody of her children. But a week before the scheduled hearing, Troy went home to have lunch and found that she had mysteriously disappeared once again. Her purse, money, wallet, and keys were still in the house, but no sign of Patricia was found. 3 weeks later, she was found on the far side of Houston, and again had no memory of how she'd gotten there. She would vanish 7 more times over the following year, with the last disappearance lasting for over a year before she was found at a welfare office in San Diego, though her family was never contacted. Unfortunately, Troy passed away before she was found in 2004, 33 years after her disappearance. She now lives with relatives who reported that she no longer wanders off and is receiving the care she needs after suffering another stroke during her disappearance. Thank you guys so much for watching.
No way you go from Alabama, Houston, San Diego. How is she getting these places? You was just in one state, and next thing you know, you in Alabama. I'm not gonna lie, we gonna have to do a different one of these. Like this one wasn't really that interesting. It was just like, but I'm gonna find some interesting ones. If y'all have any video recommendations, send them in. And yeah, I'm gonna see y'all next video.
God took me right up out my sins, I can't go back. Holy step and gaining real knowledge, you can soak that. Thank God he gave me good light and brought hope back. Big stepping on the devil's head, got my toe fat. They said I